Dhananjaya Pandit Prabhu Ki Jai. Okay, reading from the Nectar of Devotion. Further features of ecstatic love for Krishna, death. Once the Bakasura demon assumed the shape of a very big duck and opened his mouth in order to swallow Krishna and all the cowhead boys. When Krishna was entering the demon's mouth, Balaram and the other cowhead boys almost fainted and appeared as though they had no life. Even if devotees are illusioned by some ghastly scene or by an accidental occurrence, they never forget Krishna. Even in the greatest danger, they can remember Krishna. This is the benefit of Krishna consciousness. Even at the time of death, when all the functions of the body become dislocated, the devotee can remember Krishna in his innermost consciousness, and this saves him from falling down into material existence. In this way, Krishna consciousness immediately takes one from the material platform to the spiritual world. In this connection, there is a statement about persons who died in Mathura. Those persons had a slight breathing exhilaration, their eyes were wide open, the colors of their bodies were changed, and they began to utter the holy name of Krishna. In this condition, they gave up their material bodies. These symptoms are prior manifestations of death. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 3, entitled Gajendra's Prayers of Surrender. And now we're on text 22 to 24. So maybe we can just do the first shloka together. Yajya Brahmadayo Deva. Yajya Brahmadayo Deva. Veda Lokash Chara Chara. Veda Lokash Chara Chara. Nama Rupa Vibhedena. Nama Rupa Vibhedena. Falgyu Givya Cha Kalaya Krita Falgyavya Cha Kalya Krita Yajya Brahmadayo Deva Veda Lokas Chara Chara Nama Rupa Vibhedena Falgyavya Cha Kalaya Krita Yajya Brahmadayo Deva Veda Lokas Chara Chara Nama Rupa Vibhedena Falgyavya Cha Kalaya Krita. Bolo. Yajya Brahmadayo Deva Veda Lokas Chara Chara Nama Rupa Vibhedena Pascha Kalaya Krita Veda Lokas Chara Chara Nama Rupa Vibhedena Valgaya Cha Kalaya Krita Yasha Brahmadayo Deva Veda Lokas Chara Chara Nama Rupa Vibhedena Valaya Cha Kalaya Krita Yasha Brahmadayo Deva Veda Lokas Chara Chara So I'll just run through the Sanskrit. Yata shvichogina savito gavastayo niryanti samanta shakrat swadruchisa tatayato yam guna sampravaho bodhimana kani sarirasaga savaina devasaro matya tariyan nashtrina sanduna pamana najatu Nayam guna kamana san nachasan nisheda shesho jayatad ashesha. I'll just do the translation. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead creates his minor parts and parcels, the Jiva Tattva, beginning with Lord Brahma, the demigods and the expansions of Vedic knowledge, Sama, Rig, Yaja, and Atava, and including all other living entities, moving and non-moving, with their different names and characteristics. As the sparks of a fire or the shining rays of the sun emanate from their source and merge into it again and again, the mind, the intelligence, the senses, the gross and subtle material bodies, and the continuous transformations of the different modes of nature all emanate from the Lord and again merge into him. He is neither demigod nor demon, neither human nor bird or beast. He is not woman, man, or nuta. Nor is he an animal. He is not a material quality, a fruit of activity, a manifestation or a non-manifestation. He is the last word in the discrimination of not this, and he is unlimited. All glories to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Papa Srila Prabhupada Ki. This is a summary description of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's unlimited potency. That Supreme One is acting in different phases by manifesting his parts and parcels, which are all simultaneously differently situated in his different potencies. Parashi Shakti Videva Suryate. Each and every potency is acting quite naturally. Swabhaviki Jnana Bala Kriyacha. Therefore the Lord is unlimited. Na tat samash chabadikas chadrishyate. Nothing is equal to him, nor is anything greater than him. Although he manifests himself in so many ways, personally, he has nothing to do. Tatashikaryam karanam chavidyate. For everything is done by expansions of his unlimited energies. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chaksharan Militam Jena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Didati Swapadantikam Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gauda Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions? Jalan, bro, you got a question? You got a question? So this is coming to the end of Gajendra Prabhu's prayers. There's still a few more, actually. So he's, okay, and then the Lord appears after the next few prayers. So he's he's going into the whole understanding that Krishna is the Supreme, and then very explicitly explaining all the philosophical aspects of that. So it came up last night in Shuddhavati Chintamani Sangha that Sri Ramas was making the point that in ISKCON, one of the phrases which is abused very badly is automatic advancement. That I just have to go through everything in a kind of ritualistic way, mechanical way. I just have to chant any old way and automatically I'll make advancement. So he was just highlighting how it's very important to make endeavors by studying and then putting into practice what we're studying. Then we make automatic advancement. So we have to really, really understand threadbare the philosophy and be applying it to the best of our ability, and then we make advancement automatically. which means that there's so much knowledge that we have to learn. Srila Prabhupada is all the time giving Sanskrit verses over and over again, Parashi Shakti Videva Shriyate, which I still haven't learned, but I recognize it. And it's for us, Shiv Ramanuj was saying also in a podcast yesterday, he hasn't gone to the trouble of explaining every meaning of every single Sanskrit word, just so that we can run through the Sanskrit. Every time we say a bit of Sanskrit, we'll skip that and go back onto the English. It's so that we can start to understand the Sanskrit to some degree. Maybe we can't become fluent Sanskrit speakers, but we should be able to start recognizing words, and start remembering particular phrases, you know. And then once we've done that, then we can look at how we're going to apply them and preach them, and then we can look at automatic advancement. Otherwise, if it's not automatically, we're not automatically advancing, then what are we automatically doing? Yeah, if you're not trying, you automatically just fall asleep, right? Or you automatically regress, you just relax back. Material energy is just like, okay, just chill out, everything's okay. So we have to fight against, resist that tendency, and we have to become proactive and aggressive in our study and application of the philosophy. It's not an armchair philosophy, it's not passive. Something that you have to apply and implement. There's I was going to read it out this morning actually. There's a really nice offering by Chandrasekhar Maharaj in the Vyasa Puja book. And he touches on this subject. Okay, if I share it, yeah. Have you seen Chandrasekhar Maharaj? I went on YouTube to say he's very, it looks like he's a Prabhupada disciple. It's quite old, very animated, and amazing offering. He says, for many years, I tried to chant Hare Krishna. I knew that it was the main pillar of our purification. I've had many classes on improving the quality of chanting. I have even given many classes on the importance of chanting and why perfection of chanting is so important. However, from the very day of my joining the temple in Berkeley, and later being initiated, which is where our deities are from, isn't it? Berkeley. Berkeley, yeah. Or Berkeley, Berkeley. However, from the very day of my joining the temple in Berkeley, and later being initiated, the process of chanting with attention seemed beyond my grasp. Anyone else experience that? Everyone else is okay, good. There's always so much service to do. A true Krishna conscious day is at least 36 hours long. Everything has to fit in there somewhere. There are devotees monitoring our progress and accomplishments. Did you make it to Mangalati? Are all the dishes washed? I didn't see you in Bhagavatam class. I didn't see you awake in Bhagavatam class. What was your book score? How much Lakshmi did you bring in? On and on it goes. We need volunteers for cut-up in the kitchen. We know that to follow the rules that you, Srila Prabhupada, laid down is not easy, and there seem to be something upward of 10,000 of them. After a while, we learn which ones we are measured by, at least by our authorities. Rarely do they ask, how is your chanting? Yes, once every year or 6, some leader may ask about our chanting, but all we have to do is mumble and okay, or pretty good, and that will be that. Luckily, there is no evidence, hee. No one can check your chanting. We are safe there, so much rot underneath the floorboards. The strange thing is that chanting is said to be an indicator of our spiritual health and to count for 90% of our progress. The idea is always there, and the idea kept bumping around in the back of my mind like a loose pop can in the back of a traveling van. It is possible to just read Bhagavatam and think, one day I will magically develop an attraction. Or we can joke about how attraction will come in 1 million births, and actually that's pretty soon when compared to eternity. I always seem to be trying to get through my rounds, just trying to get through them. For me, success was completing my allotted 16 The mind never stays still. Never. When I was a young devotee, I told myself that later, when I get some devotional service under my belt, when I become advanced, I will surely by that time be able to chant better. Someday it will improve. Someday never comes, as the song goes. When you get into your 60s, or worse yet, your 70s, you start thinking, when is this magic moment going to happen? And then it dawns on you, unless you make some change in your life, unless you make it happen, it ain't going to happen. It's an interesting thing that the process of bringing consciousness to focus on Krishna in his holy name can be so taxing, so laborious. Why should that be? Will it always be that way? Here I am speaking for myself. I have no way of knowing what is going on in other devotees' minds and hearts. Sometimes it feels as if my head will break open with one more mantra. This is proof positive that I don't love Krishna, not even a little bit. Yet I'm engaged in devotional service and have to some percentage been engaging in that service for more than 40 years. There must be some kind of attraction there. If I can increase the quality of my chanting, no one is going to know, no one is going to ask, except maybe Adipurusha and Matuna. Well, there are two on my team. Well then, how in the blue blazes can japa be upgraded? How can I really chant with more focus? Here's what I did. Your mileage may vary. First, I prayed to the deities that they would help me to chant better. I tried many small strategies that were recommended by the devotees. I found that some of these strategies didn't work, at least for me. I believe that perfecting japa is a personal path. What works for one may not work for others. Personally, I never sit down while chanting. It never works for me. I'm off to dreamland in moments. My body is too MOI, mode of ignorance. Heck, I've been struggling to stop nodding while walking at a good clip, and what to speak of being a lotus podder. I try to find very, very boring places to sit so I won't be distracted. Turning down the lights helps me. I took to waking up early to chant, which seems to give me the spacious feeling that I won't be invaded by some imperative in the next second. I tried to work at getting a good start. In the first few rounds are good. It sets the stage for the entire 16. I have disabled all notifications on my cell phone. I heard a class by Ravindra Swarup Prabhu about how Srila Prabhupada once said that you should just try to hear yourself sincerely chanting Hare Krishna. Somehow that simple statement meant something to me. It spoke to me. Chanting is like riding an ocean wave. It is easy to fall off, as surfers say, eat the bottom. Another statement that speaks to me is, imagine you are talking to Krishna. Krishna is personally present on your tongue. I'm speaking to him, asking him to hear my mantras. I came across the interesting realization that one of the reasons that my mind was so active and preoccupied during japa is because I'm planning some type of service. And I hope then that that service will make me outstanding in the society of devotees. Like the super soul, my false ego is also my constant companion. It is fair to say that my japa is way, way better than it used to be. See, you can make your japa better by just wanting, praying, and working at it. 40 wasted years. Well, can't do anything about that now. In case you're wondering, no tears come to my eyes or any of that really Haridas Thakur type stuff. But hey, my japa is way, way better than it was. That means a lot to me. Maybe even one day I'll become a real devotee or something. I will love Krishna even more than pizza. Imagine. You'll say the Chandrasekhar Swami. So kind of, for me, I thought that was nice that you can say so many things in your offering, but really, how well are you chanting Hare Krishna? And we're reading about Gajendra, and he's chanting his prayers in the same way that we should be chanting the Maha Mantra. Any questions or comments?
I'll copy my question then. So, okay, it's not one of those examples of the situation where Bhakti was living in the ashram, and so after the garden, he got initiated by a minister on the roof, and he was in that situation.
Was he in ISKCON?
The guru of Bhakti.
The guru?
He wasn't in ISKCON.
He wasn't, no. Well, Prabhupada said to stay in ISKCON. That's always a good idea. And he said, you'll show your love for me by how you cooperate, not by how you leave the society. So somebody says, I love Srila Prabhupada, but I can't stand his society. Yes, God, I'm going to have to leave it. Shishikam Nitai Ko Shashiki Jai. So that was one thing that Srila Prabhupada instructed, don't leave ISKCON. Stay and try to work with things. And if you have a negative impression about a devotee, then turn it around and make it a positive one. Pray to the deities, please help this devotee to see something or to change in some way, to become, to have some realization, some knowledge, some awareness. Let his Krishna consciousness increase. Then you turn a negative impression into a positive one. So Prabhupada said, you'll show your love for me by how you cooperate. And proactive cooperation is appreciation. If you decide that you're going to spend your time trying to appreciate devotees, you'll find it very easy to cooperate with them automatically. The challenge is for the majority of devotees in a society, an international society, the majority of them are new devotees that are Kanishta Adhikaris. And for them to progress from Kanishta to Majjhima Adhikari, they have to avoid the 3 A's, aparadhs, avidya, and anarthas, to get to the stage of being a Majjhima Adhikari. So the aparadhs can slow everything down. And in ISKCON we have a high standard. Before we give first, the devotee has to come to a certain point, and then before he gets second, he has to come to another point. He has to have done the Bhakti Shastri course, and so many prerequisites are there. And if that isn't followed, then what you'll find is the devotee will prematurely get first, second, and then he won't be able to continue because it was given to him in an unauthorized way and in a whimsical way. So what we're learning as a society, that giving sannyas, giving second, giving first initiation, these should come only after the devotee has proved himself. And then when he gets them, then he'll be able to maintain them. And the proof is that if the devotee gets this first and second and then can't maintain his Krishna consciousness, that it was obviously premature. So we have a society now that is rich in all kinds of measures for checks and balances, so that the devotee can make progress nicely. And Yandunanda Maharaj, he was here a little while ago when they had the conference for the farm, and he's put a book together on why we had so much problem with the sannyas ashram in ISKCON. Interviewed devotees that were sannyasis and had left, where it caused them to leave. And the overall conclusion was that the best sannyasis are the ones that have been grihastas, which is the Varnashram system: brahmachari, grihasta, vanaprastha, and sannyas. It's a scientific process. So by the time you come to sannyas, you've burnt out any, family life destroys any ideas that you had that material life is going to be fun. So by the time you've done 25 years of family life, you're ready for sannyas. Or vanaprastha. So that's the scientific. And so we still have a lot of work to do in ISKCON. We're very much still in the beginning stages, and we have to start to establish Varnashram, that what is a devotee's particular nature, and what is his ashram, what will he be best situated in. Just like the story, actually, one of the purports, Prabhupada talks about how Gajendra was, he was strong on land, but he wasn't strong in the water. In the water, the crocodile was strong, and the crocodile wouldn't have been strong on land. If the Gajendra had managed to pull the crocodile up onto the land, then he would have defeated him. But because he was in the water, in that weakened condition, and Prabhupada compares it to the ashram, if the devotee is in the wrong ashram, then he won't be able to fight by strongly. He has to be situated in the right ashram, and he can fight with full vigor. And so this is what we're learning in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's been given to us by Srila Prabhupada, and he spent so much, he made such an endeavor to come across in the first place, and he spent so much of his time writing the books. And so now on every devotee that steps forward to become a member of ISKCON, that heavy debt lays upon their heads, as well as how they can repay Srila Prabhupada by really reading the books that he struggled so much to give to us, and really following his example of sacrificing everything for the preaching, for the spreading of Krishna consciousness. So sometimes a devotee may come into the society and he may drift away because he doesn't really realize what it is that he's drifting away from, because he didn't really study the books properly in the first place. So that's always the challenge, is are you really fully aware of the significance of being in the society, and fully aware of the significance of leaving the society, what that means? If you turn your back on that, Prabhupada said, if you stay your entire life, then I have a key for the back door. I'll get you in through the back door. So there's no other acharya that I know of that can say that, He's the founder of Acharya also, which is a special significance. So when we step forward to give our offerings to Srila Prabhupada, Vyasa Puja, and also reflect on his contribution on his disappearance day, we should have very, very deep, or we should be trying to develop very, very deep understandings and appreciations of what it is, what the situation is, And Srila Prabhupada was just saying recently, and he was doing a debate, and the devotee was playing an antagonist, and the devotee was saying, and she was playing a professor actually, and she was saying, I look at the devotees and most of them aren't experiencing ecstasy when they're chanting. Most of them are completely bored. I mean, most of them are totally spaced out. They're just trying to stay awake. Ecstasy. The ecstasy would be for someone to run into the temple room with one of these really expensive mattresses, throw it on the floor, and give the devotee this really deluxe pillow, say, Prabhu. Oh, wow, thank you, Prabhu. So she says, I don't see the devotees in ecstasy. I see most of them are just really, really bored. So why are you saying this? Obviously the process is false. So Sri Ramakrishna was saying, 1 in 10,000, that's the ratio. Manushanam sahasrashu. Out of many thousands one may endeavor, and of those only a few will achieve perfection. So you've got a 1 in 10,000 chance. So that should make us really, serious. Did somebody have a question?
Okay. Just on that point, 1 in 10,000, does that mean 1 in 10,000 within ISKCON or 1 in 10,000 within the whole world? Because, how many do we have in ISKCON? 1 in 10,000 is maybe
Krishna says
3 or 4 in the UK.
He says, out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection. So I suppose you could say we're sadhakas who are endeavoring for perfection. Okay. So out of the many thousands, and of those only, what does he say of that? Of those only a few. So it's a small percentage. So there's different waves of perfection. The first is Mahapunya. Okay, we all get a human birth now, so that's great. Which is quite significant actually, because most people aren't getting a human birth. And then of those, Swasti Aina, some will start the auspicious journey. So they'll become sadhakas. So you could say those are the ones who are endeavoring for perfection. And of those, how many will go back to Godhead in that lifetime? Shubham. We want to make sure that we're the ones that do that, but how many committed sadhakas take up the process and then they get deviated? They get deviated by the Gaudiya Math, they get deviated by the Ritviks, or they get deviated by somebody being offensive and coming up with all kinds of offensive things about devotees in ISKCON and undermining their faith. Then they leave the society. So you have a formidable, and that's that's on top of 6 months of monthly devotional service, and all the different obstacles you have to get through. Madhura Kandamini explains to get to that point. So it's like it's quite a challenge. So that could be discouraging, or that could be encouraging. Then that you decide that you want to be really, really careful not to slip into those common mistakes that we see in society have been made. So yeah, one of the fundamental mistakes is that the devotee doesn't appreciate the significance of being in ISKCON, and then he just wanders off and says, "Oh, I'm going to hang out with these Siddha Babas and Radhakund. They've given me a Siddha Pranali, and I know that I'm a caterpillar now in the spiritual world. So you see me doing that, don't worry about it." And there's quite a few Russian devotees that have fallen for the Siddha Pranali one. Phenomenally high amount. Wonder what he was saying, couldn't believe how easy it was, and they just fell for it, So you have to really know the books. You have to really know the Vani, proper Vani.
So just something on the end of Jayananda's question. How do we affect these young devotees that are coming in and are very vulnerable? What's the best thing we do?
Yeah.
Like, I think we all know what Jayananda is talking about. So, this devotee is very sweet, very nice heart.
Yeah.
And we just don't really know it's done. But then we find out later that there is some
Well, the challenge is Rupa Goswami. He says, "Dadati pratikinati guri makati prichati bhungtai bochai chicheva svatim parilakshanam." Sadvitim parilakshanam. So Prabhupada says in that purport that this international society for Krishna consciousness was created just to allow these living exchanges to take place. So, first of all, the living exchanges, like Jayananda will, sometimes he gives you a little gift at times, keep meaning to give one back to him. So that's a living exchange. Or somebody just brings you something, it's not your birthday, but they just want to show that they have some love for you, and they say, "Well, I was walking around your day and I saw this, I thought you might like it." So that's the one exchange. Then the other is that you make some prasad. It can be more satisfying watching devotees relishing the prasad that you've made than eating it yourself. Sometimes you can even lose your appetite. You've been cooking, and you come out the kitchen, and the last thing you want to do is eat anything. And you see the devotees, "Oh, this is really nice." And wow, I'm really satisfied, So that's also a living exchange. But the Guhyam Akati Prichati is the challenge, is can you find someone that you can have a transparent relationship with, and you can completely reveal your heart and mind. Now, if this younger devotee had done that, then he would have been protected. Could have said, "Look, I'm thinking that this is going to be such an easier path. I'm going to get prema straight away. I don't have to toil for years and years, standing around on Buchanan Street with a bag full of soggy books. I can just slip in the back door right now, and it'll be Haribol and Halava 24/7.
We know that there was someone there that there was like a deep connection with, but that person was the one that was misleading him. So,
Yeah.
The person, anyway.
And that's why we have to have the environment stripped clean of any deviations. Sri Ramakrishna was talking about that as well. He said it in such a heavy way. He goes, everyone, all the leaders that we have in ISKCON have all been good if they didn't deviate. As soon as the deviation, because the process is so perfect and so pure, then you just get stripped away automatically. But along the way, it can cause a lot of damage and a lot of confusion. So the foundation should be a very, very deep faith in Srila Prabhupada and an appreciation for how special he is and how fortunate we are that we're connected. That should be there. Then spiritual masters may come, spiritual masters may go, sannyasis may fall, sannyasis may come. All this may be going on, all this turbulence is there, but the bedrock, the foundation stays the same. Prabhupada's words are always perfect. Prabhupada is always Nitya Siddha. Everything's fine. You know? Everything else is just part of the course, part of learning. And then how we can proactively try to develop relationships in such a way that younger devotees feel that they can trust us and that they can come to us for good counsel. And you can't institutionalize that, you can't force somebody. We did try that with the zonal acharya, you know, that you just thought, look, you must love this person because you're in this area, so it must be Krishna's arrangement, so just take him as a spiritual master. I don't really, oh, that's bogus, Mark Maya, you're just envious. So it can't be institutionalized, but you can also reflect, well, Krishna's put me in this situation for a particular reason, and everything else he does is so perfect. So he's making this arrangement for me, and he's also giving me signs of who my spiritual master is and who it is that I can trust. And sometimes we do trust the wrong person, and then later on we realize, you know, we learn by our mistakes. Or he may have been the right person at the time, but then later on he went off track, you know. And so when that happens, I had a friend who brought me to Krishna consciousness, Ricky, and he was my like superhero. And then during my development in Krishna consciousness, he deviated off the path and he left, and I ran into him doing book distribution one day, and he was eating meat again, and they had a really bad attitude towards devotional service. We were reading that last night actually in Srimad Bhagavatam. When the devotee falls away from Krishna consciousness, everything becomes mundane for him. So he sees the devotees as mundane, the holy name as mundane. So he become very mundane about the whole thing, you know. So he brought me along so far, and then he wandered off. But by that time I was strong enough to not wander off with him, but to realize, okay, so he's no longer aligned. When people are aligned, they're empowered. And when they're not aligned, then they become disempowered. They may have been gurus or big preachers, and if they deviate, then they lose that empowerment. They're no longer aligned. So then we have to move on past and continue on and keep looking for devotees that we can take shelter of and get inspiration from. If ifs and ands were pots and pans, there'd be no room for tinkers. So we can't be thinking, oh, if I'd have done this and if I'd have done that. It's what it is, you know. We just have to learn from it. Also, Chaitanya Char made an interesting point in his book, 365 Reflections on the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Krishna makes the plans, and then when you don't follow the plan, he makes another plan. He's continually making plans, you know. Oh, we lost Chaitanya College. Okay, that wasn't the plan. Okay, well, it's happened. Okay, well, let's make this other plan then. So he always tries to make the best out what it is, you know. So when we go wrong and we mess up, immediately Krishna's in there with another plan. Okay, you did that. It was really bad. Now you can learn from that. So we won't be doing that again. And then everyone goes forward, you know. As long as you don't keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's what Einstein said is the definition of insanity is to keep doing the same thing over again that doesn't work. You think, no, I'll try it again. Maybe it'll work this time. That means you're insane.
Everyone has a potential to perfection in this one lifetime. Everyone has the potential to do that. But everyone has the potential to
Everyone. Yeah, everyone can. All they have to do is chant 16 rounds at least, and follow the principles and cooperate in ISKCON. And then Srila Prabhupada has made, just like with Hiranyakashipu, he'd made this deal with Lord Brahma. So because Lord Brahma is a pure devotee, lot of the senior couldn't just come in and say, I don't care what time it is, and I'm not using the nails this morning because they're all splintered. I'm just going to get the axe out and chop this out right now. He followed everything. So because Prabhupada has said this, Krishna has to fulfill that promise because he's pure devotee. So it can be one lifetime. Even if you feel like you're the most rubbish devotee and you can't get the tune right and go to puja and you play cartels like one of those monkeys with the batteries going down. And everything you do just seems rubbish and useless. But you hang on to this one thing. I just have to try the best that I can. And Prabhupada will be there at the end of everything you do. And then you're eligible, you're qualified. And then you go to the planet where Krishna is performing his pastimes, and then you polish everything up. That's when you get good at Sanskrit and singing and dancing and everything, because you have a spiritual body, so then you learn very easily. Yes, Kangaru in the key, Shil Prabhupada ki, Nitai Gaur Premanandi. That is all. All of you ki.